Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. The inventory show is back and everything you see is in stock and for sale. SKUs and product names and pricing below. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for additional availability questions and pricing details. So we're starting off with the Patek Philippe 24 Automatic 36. Now, the Ladies 24 debuted as a quartz watch in 1999. Long known for combining stainless steel with diamonds, as we have right here, the watch became an automatic reference with a more or less round case in 2018, and in 2021 a green dial variant debuted. But this, retailed in 2023, is a Tiffany co-signed example retailed by the legendary Tiffany & Co. Now, the watch comes with the Patek Philippe co-signed dial. It is Henri Stern that actually does these signatures, and the watch also includes all the original boxes and papers, including the Patek Philippe boxed set as well as the teal boxed Tiffany set that comes for thusly retailed watches. Now, it's probably bigger than you think, at about 45 lug to lug, about 10.5 thick, 36 in diameter in steel. We have 160 diamonds and about 0.81 carats right there. We'll throw it on my wrist, and yeah, it actually does fit. I've heard it speculated that the diamonds might have been added to this model to discourage men from ordering it, back ordering it, and waitlisting it. And to be perfectly honest, I can sort of see the logic of that. It is a very attractive watch. Full bracelet, stainless steel, automatic, and well loomed. This is a watch that could very credibly be considered a rival to other integrated bracelet sports watches at Patek. And Patek has become more ambitious in its water resistance rating, stating that these 30-meter watches are now a true 30 meters. So combined with that much luminescence, I don't know what to say. I definitely see this being a man's style. It's certainly big enough. It's the size of a full bracelet Rolex Datejust. Now, one thing worth mentioning, when this version with the green dial came out in 21, it was still using the 324 caliber. Now it has the most modern 26-330 hacking seconds caliber. So this is the very latest Tiffany signed steel automatic, and with the most recent mechanical upgrade. White gold hands, white gold numerals, very attractive altogether with a lovely double fold trigger actuated deployant clasp. Now we're going to talk about a watch that is super famous, and the watch that probably should be more famous. So here we have the FP Journe Chronometre Bleu, and here we have the Lange and Sohne Saxonia thin copper blue. Now this watch right here, pre-owned, retails for between 150 and 160, depending on warranty, remaining box, and papers. And this watch right here retails pre-owned for like $23,000 to $24,000. Still a lot of money, but the distinction in quality is not as great as the distinction in price. And they do have advantages over each other. It's not a one-sided affair. The Journe obviously has fame, and one might even say the hype train on its side, whereas I think there's sort of a snob class that finds this to be incomparably better, but probably isn't giving the CB enough due. So how can that be possible? How can a watch be both overhyped and underhyped at the same time? Well, let me show you. As a holistic design, I think the Journe is better, and here's why. The tantalum case is unusual and in full polish difficult to achieve. It's a beautiful blue-gray metal that has a sheen unlike anything else, and it is heavier than watchmaking 18-karat gold, so this is a pretty heavy watch. The dial is a translucent blue lacquer over a mirror-polished German silver base, and it's then printed with an off-white or cream quality of lacquer on the dial, and the same on the hands, which is a subtlety that's often lost in online photos, which make this look like a white printed dial. It's definitely not that. The azurage on the sub-seconds is a beautiful effect, and then when you turn it over, the movement, although not finished as well as the Lange, is larger in diameter and more beautiful in architecture. So you can see we have these two barrels, 6-position adjustment, free sprung, 3 hertz, 56-hour power reserve, and it is a very good timekeeper. I've put these on chronoscopes through 6 positions and found that they do, as Journe boasts, run beyond COSC tolerances, which is to say less than -4 + 6 per 24 hours, and by a good margin. The balance here is much larger than on the Lange, which has favorable chronometric properties since they're both 3 hertz. But what I really want to call your attention to here isn't even the fact that the movement is solid gold, though it is, and that's very cool, but the architecture. Look how we have one side with the balance and the escapement and one side with the power supply, and then this lovely gulf between them with beautifully positioned and proportioned bridges. The architecture of this movement is incomparably better and more attractive than the rather austere Lange. And so when you combine the fact that this is an outstanding timekeeper that lives up to its Chronometre boast, the 18-karat rose gold bridges and plates, and then the architecture of this movement, which is significantly larger than the one in the Lange, and you have a lot to argue in favor of this being a superior design from an aesthetic standpoint. It's not asking you to love it for its case, its dial, or its movement. Each one contributes equally to the desirability of this watch. Now, it is bigger. It's about 45.5, and it's 39 millimeters in diameter. It's a little bit over 8.5 millimeters thick. The Lange is significantly more compact in those regards, though they are both 39 millimeter watches. Here we have lug to lug about 44 millimeters, but significantly only 6.5 millimeters thick white gold case. Although here's the problem now. The dial is spectacular, but the case is fairly generic to Lange watches. It doesn't have that unique proposition that the Journe has with its exclusive tantalum case. Taking a quick look at the dial, you can easily see why people consider this to be every inch the equal of the CB, and it's because this dial is spectacular. Whereas the Journe dial is printed, here we have applique white gold indices, and we have alpha hands at center to match. We also have this incredible aventurine glass dial, which is executed on a sterling silver base. It's a type of vitreous enamel, so it's not really aventurine stone, it's aventurine glass, which is the enamel translucent blue with metal flakes inside to create this glittering sort of bottomless aesthetic. When you turn it over, the finish of the movement is better in the sense that the details of the parts are superior, but this is an austere layout. 3/4 bridge and a balance cock. Not a whole lot of excitement here. Now, it does have more power reserve, 70 versus 56, but look at this 3/4 bridge. That's not nearly as interesting as the barrel bridge structure on the Journe. Taking a look in detail, you can see why I say the finish is better, but the architecture is not. Look at the solarization of this crown and ratchet wheel. In fact, look at the micro beveling on their teeth. Look at the beveling on the bridges here, better than what you'll find on the Journe. Lovely narrow stripes. And the narrower the stripes, the more risk of damage or a mistake. And these are a little bit narrower than the Journe, which means they were able to thread the needle successfully. We have golden chaton cups fixing the pivot jewels, and then we have a freehand engraved balance cock. And you can see that the swan's neck itself in steel is polished and beautifully beveled. Both these watches wear nicely, though I will admit this one is thinner and finer and does sit lower and is a little bit shorter lug to lug, although the strap on the outset is going to be stiffer. With the Journe, it's got a little bit more of a flexible strap, though it is a bigger watch in terms of thickness and lug to lug. If you can wear one, though, you can wear both. And so that's sort of how I feel about these. I feel like this watch is underrated. This watch may be a little bit overrated, but if you were going to take price out of the equation, this is perhaps the most famous watch designed by an auteur watchmaker whose impact on the industry will resonate, pun intended, for decades after he leaves the space, whereas this is just a very nice dress watch. So in terms of historic importance, I think this one has already achieved the same iconic status as Daytona, Submariner, Nautilus, Royal Oak, whereas this is more like an Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter, a very nice watch. This is more like your sub. Both are great. Again, budget is probably going to determine which of these you're shopping for. Both are superb. There is another blue dial option here, actually, and it's a little bit different because it's a complication and it's a gem set watch. But from Bethune, what I love most about this DB25 moon phase is that it's the 40 millimeter case, which is a very difficult size to find. It's about 47 lug to lug, and you can see it's all white gold with a case band set with these incredible baguette cut or emerald cut diamonds. And you can see they ring the case seamlessly, almost to the point that when it's on your wrist, you can't really see them. The watch has an incredible fired blue polished titanium dial that uses diamonds for the indices as well as some of the constellation features. And you can even see there's a little bit of a variation in the blue, a sort of gradient across its surface that makes it quite beautiful. The moon phase is actually made of diamonds and blue sapphires, and what we'll do is we'll just make sure we're not in the danger zone for that. We've got a quick set here that allows you to appreciate Bethune's unique spherical moon phase One half, we have 44 blue sapphires. The other half, we have 44 white diamonds. It's a 122-year perpetual calendar style moon phase. Underneath that, blued steel and white palladium. Turn it all over, and the movement is in its entirety black polished. So whereas on the Lange, you get a black polished swan's neck, and on the Journe, you get some black polished screws. Here, the entire barrel bridge and base plate cover are mirror finished. We have snailing on the barrel covers. We have micro beveling on the teeth of the ratchet wheel here. We have anglage on both the edge of the barrel bridge and the barrel bridge cap, so it's double stacked. Mirrored and rounded balance bridge, Grubel 4C style. And in fact, if you look, we can see we've got a combination of a precious metal rim and then a silicon disc for this patented balance wheel. There are no fewer than 5 patents that I can count off the top of my head involved in protecting these technologies. The triple parachute is there to prevent damage, but it has another function, which is to improve chronometry, because if these flanking springs can take up all the shock, then the balance staff pivot doesn't get displaced from its cup jewel, which means the watch keeps better time. 4 Hz beat rate, 6 days of power reserve, and you cannot, by accident, overwind this watch. One of the mainsprings will slip and prevent damage. This is a fascinating way of putting gems in a man's watch, and being one of the smaller debethune pieces, really smallest debethune pieces, it wears spectacularly. It's not even as thick as it looks, though it's kind of cylindrical and sheer. This is a watch that is very, very comfortable, and one of the few diamond set watches that I would actually seriously consider wearing. It's also got a nice weight to it, being white gold, and like the Journe, it's got alligator leather on both sides of the strap. Okay, so here's a watch that comes from an elite brand celebrating its 160th year this year. From Zenith, here we have the Chronomaster triple calendar. It's a Chronomaster original style. The triple calendar punctuated by lapis lazuli dial, so complete calendar lapis lazuli is the name of this model. Chronomaster complete calendar lapis lazuli means you get this incredible stone dial. Now, unlike the aventurine glass, this is a true cut stone fashioned by a lapidary, and the mineral includes both the blue stone itself and metallic flakes that give you a little bit of the look of the aventurine. We've got the striking 10th system here, which allows you to more easily read tenths of a second. Since the Zenith El Primero movement, this is the 3610, second generation El Primero. It has this radial display system that spreads 10 seconds through 360 degrees of the dial, so 1 second will be spread over 36 degrees of angular displacement. So it's really easy to read tenths of a second. So here you can see 8 seconds in 1, 2, 3 tenths, just like that. The El Primero has always been able to register tenths of a second, but on a small scale, it can be difficult for the eye to discern that. Now, the watch is 38 millimeters in diameter, which makes it very easy to wear. We've got a full clasp here and a bracelet to match. The watch features a 60-hour power reserve, column wheel, lateral clutch, silicone escapement, hacking seconds, which is a feature not traditionally included on El Primero watches. It's a feature of the 3600 series El Primeros, and you can see how it wears on my wrist. Now, it's 36,000 vibrations per hour, 5 hertz, 10 beats per second, so it has a little bit of a quicker cadence when you listen to it. You can see it's thin enough. It's got a sort of monoblock case where the case and the bezel are all one piece for a seamless aesthetic, and then we have this plexiglass-like sapphire crystal, and it is sapphire over the dial side. Taking a quick look in the dark, you can see this watch is luminescent, no issues with that, easy enough to read, although it's going to be the time, not necessarily the calendar system. Also worth mentioning, we do have a quick set for the date and the month. Flip it all over. You can see that caliber 3610 on the case back. Lateral clutch, column wheel, outstanding, by the way. Column wheel feel on this watch really lives up to the legend of the Zenith El Primero, and of course now in its second generation. If you have a bit more money to spend on your integrated bracelet sports watch, then consider this. A much-loved piece from Journe in the Journe's modern era. This is a model that launched in 2018. Chronograph Monopoussoir Rattrapante. It is from the line Sport collection of sports watches that feature a unique integration of bracelet and case. Now, this model was made from 2018 to 2020 because, as you can see, it features the rubber guards that do a great job of protecting the chiseled finish from damage. You can see that chiseled finish. But at the time, kind of like the 38 millimeter cases before, Nobody wanted the rubber bumpers until you couldn't get them anymore. Now you can't. So I like the tonal contrast, I like the protection of the finish, and the fact that they're not making any more of these. Now it is a split-second chronograph, but it looks conventional until you realize what would ostensibly be the reset trigger is actually the split trigger to actuate the clasping system. Operating through a second column wheel, it splits the seconds. It is a monopusher in the sense that if you stop it, you must then reset it before you restart it. Blue mauve dial, the hands and the numerals are made of white gold, but the dial base itself is that blue mauve, sort of purplish blue galvanized sterling silver. Now we do have here an instantaneous jumping double-digit date that does feature a quick set mechanism, so you can rapidly set those numerals. They use a wonderful serif font. Journe, I give you credit for that. Only 12.2 millimeters thick. Now what's kind of cool is if you look at the case back, by the way, there is a micro adjustment in this clasp that is not a well-advertised feature by the factory, but there it is. The movement's big, 33.6 millimeters in diameter, twin column wheel, solid gold, 3 Hertz, free sprung. It's got an oscillating pinion clutch system, which is a pretty sophisticated type of lateral clutch that creates very little inherent play and can actually be mistaken for a vertical clutch in terms of how smoothly it actuates when you start it up. You can see that, no jump, no stagger. And it is a beautifully executed movement. Everything that's silver is well-finished stainless steel, and everything that's rose gold is rose gold. A massive watch, in fact, full platinum with all the links in the bracelet, sterling silver dial, and of course gold movement. We can put this on Sammy the scale, and in real time we can get that mass. There you go. That is quite hefty. For those of you in the old colonies, well over half a pound. Deeply gratifying. Great column wheel feel too. Thank you, Scat. Sammy. And Sammy will yield the stage to what I believe is the ultimate watch in today's program. This is the Patek Philippe 5970P, the platinum model. Now, the 5970 took what everyone loved about the 3970 and just made it bigger. So this case size went from 36.2 to a nice robust 40. Not too big, not too small. Maybe 2,800 made with only a few hundred examples of the platinum in existence. Of course, this watch still Lemania based like the previous watch, and you can see the movement beautifully decorated. It's been upgraded in a lot of ways over the standard Lemania 2310, so the free sprung regulator and the Gyromax balance replace the mobile stud index. An overcoil hairspring replaces the flat hairspring. Patek increases the power reserve from 48 to 60 hours. Still a 2.5 hertz beat rate. Decoration is raised to Geneva seal levels. And no, your eyes don't deceive you. It does say adjusted to 8 positions right there. Column wheel feel. And you can see we've got a column wheel and a lateral clutch. It's world class. Chronograph with perpetual calendar. And as you can see, it's just sort of rolling through the change right there. That's what's going on up at the top of the dial. The chronograph with perpetual calendar, a Patek Philippe tradition dating back to the 1518, launched back in 1941. And this is a particularly desirable version of the 5970 with the platinum case, the distinctive diamond between the lugs. Made from about late 2008 to early 2010. It had a short production run, this platinum model. And as you can see on my wrist, it's nice and thin. It's got a beautiful concave lug profile, nice and short across the wrist, even suitable for a lady. Don't be thrown by the fact that it's bigger than a 3970. This could absolutely fit on a man's wrist or a woman's wrist, and it's slimmer than it looks with a sloped case flank and a concave bezel. A real treat to experience this, a rock star watch. And again, based on the famed Lemania 2310 Abauche here, we have the caliber 2770 PSQ, Petit Second Quantième, beautifully decorated. It gives up nothing to anyone. Instantaneous minute jumper, case with extraordinary definition in wonderful shape, hand-welded lugs, a laboriously handmade case, and a laboriously handmade watch. So if you love these watches, reach out to me directly. They're in stock. Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.